Get the right set of notes. Those are not the right set. Here. Proverbs 33. This is the second half of what we started last week. And so you'll remember that we only did 9 verses last week. We saved today because there's really quite a lot. And so one of the notable things also about Proverbs 31, it is probably the most well-known chapter in the Bible about womanhood and particularly an excellent wife. The first 9 verses are the instructions to quote King Lemuel, who we don't know who that was or is. One of the interesting other parts of this, and I mentioned this last week, is that verses 10 through 31 are an acrostic. And some of your Bibles have that. Some of them may not. It's a Hebrew acrostic using the first letter of each verse starts with, in sequential of the Hebrew alphabet. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dot, Vav, so on and so forth. If you want to see that a little more clearly, I can send you either a picture of my Bible or there's some other resources that you could probably find online as well, if that's there. And that's probably either a mnemonic device to help men, memorize this passage, to keep in the back of their mind what are the good qualifications. When you're looking for a wife, what do you need to look for? Well, if you can remember the alphabet, you can remember this, right? And so that it could be a mnemonic device. It could be a literary device, but more probable is that, at least in my opinion, is that it's probably a mnemonic device, not a literary device. Excuse me. So we're going to look at this. Let's read the text, and then we'll jump in. So Proverbs 31 verses 10 through 31, the Word of God. An excellent wife who can find? Her worth is far above pearls. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She deals bountifully with him for good and not evil all the days of her life. She searches for wool and flax and works with her hands in delight. She is like merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is still night and gives food to her household and a portion to her young women. She makes plans for a field and buys it. And the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. From the fruit of her hands, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She senses that her grain is good and her lamp does not go out at night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff and her hands hold fast the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. She stretches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, and for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known at the gates when he sits with the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them and gives belts to tradesmen. Strength and majesty are her clothing, and she smiles at the future. She opens her mouth in wisdom, and the instruction of loving kindness is on her tongue. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and bless her. As for her husband, he also praises her, saying, My daughters have done excellently, but you have done above them all. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is in vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give to her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. Thus concludes the reading of God's Word. So let me give you a couple of things right off the bat here. I'm writing myself a note about a resource that I need to remind you of. I will send out in the group chat two resources when we're done today. One will be a link to a sermon that was preached by John MacArthur, of all people, in the 90s on this text that I found particularly helpful. And I'm actually going to steal a little bit of his outline. He's got kind of 6 points. I was trying to figure out how to organize this, and he kind of just did it for me, so I just ripped off his. So I want to give credit for that. He's in bad health too. I think he's probably about to be with the Lord. And there are certainly things that MacArthur's dispensationalism that I disagree with, but he's been an excellent man of God, and so anyway, we give him credit on that. Also, there's a resource called Bright Hearth, which is a podcast by Brian Sauvé and his wife. I think her name's Lexi. Is it Lexi? I don't know. Probably the best resource that I know of by far about the home and how to very practical and how to navigate this current world and the crazy clown world we find ourselves in, particularly with a husband and wife and with kids. Of course, they've got a little bit younger kids, and so for some of us that's a little bit out of our age range. But like my kids are listening to it now, and it's called Bright Hearth. So hearth is like a fireplace, and it's a wonderful resource that I think is. They talk very practically and theologically about a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, and more in depth, and they really get into the weeds on that. So I'll send both of those out after we're done this morning. So Proverbs 31 is known for being what? What's it known for? You know the answer to this.
A wife.
Yeah, the excellent wife. And. Many a woman has either pulled her hair out or has been happy about this chapter. It's interesting that Proverbs 31 is in contrast to the other woman that we see in the book of Proverbs. What's the other woman? The wayward woman, the adulterous woman, right? The loud woman. She's loud. She's if she isn't home, she's doing bad stuff. And yeah, this is the contrast to this. Last week, you'll remember we looked at this verse 8 particularly. We spent a lot of time talking about this one. Verse 3, not verse 8. Do not give your excellence or your strength to women, or your ways to that which blots out kings. And so we talked a lot about the influence of feminism. We talked a lot about how men have abandoned their posts with a lot of things. And it is something that bears repeating, is that as men, positionally, we hold the responsibility of leadership. And it's a heavy weight. And on one hand, I don't want you to feel like crushed under that weight. Guys tend to go to one of two camps, right? They either are like, I don't know, they have this kind of aw shucks, I don't know what I'm doing. I guess she's the boss. No, brother. She's not the boss. You have the responsibility of leadership. Like, you need to feel the weight of that on one hand. Don't let it crush you. Don't let it, bend you out of shape or whatever. You were built for that. You are absolutely built for that, okay? By design, God's design. He's done that. He's given that to us not because we're smarter, not because any other reason, but that's His role. That's the role that God's given to us. And He has given her, in this, we'll flush this out a little more today, a ton of influence. Sometimes even much more influence than we have as leaders. And if you're familiar with John Maxwell's definition of leadership, well, you say, well, I thought leadership was influence. It is on some level, but it is also about initiation and being out front on purpose and bearing the weight and the brunt of provision and protection. Leadership has built into it those aspects as well that Maxwell unfortunately ignores a lot of that piece because he's trying to appeal to a broader audience. I understand why he did what he did, but those ladies, they have influence both with their husbands and with their children, much more than anybody else. And so what we're looking at today is this excellent wife. So let's just dive right in. Verse 10, an excellent wife, who can find? Her worth is far more. My translation has pearls. You might have jewels or rubies or something like that. Rubies, yeah. Precious jewels. Yeah, it's the Hebrew term is just a term for some kind of jewel or something like that. So, if you have a choice between getting rich and getting a good wife, which do you choose? You choose the good wife, right? And there's a lot of wisdom in that. Which is better, a lot of money or a good wife? Well, the answer is a good wife. A good wife. That's what you're looking for. And there is a sense in which it can be hard to find such a woman. As opposed to the adulterous woman whose lips drip honey, finding a woman whose lips drip wisdom. Instead of having a loud woman, but finding a woman that has a quiet and gentle spirit, as we'll look at one of the verses later. Instead of someone who is foolish and rebellious and quarrelsome and is, always, well, I'm just a hot mess. Well, you're something, right? There's other words for that. And, that's not attractive. And I know this is not a message to the ladies today because this is a men's Bible study. But if I were, I'm an equal opportunity offender. I would, we have a culture that is full of this crap about, well, I'm a, the one I keep hearing is hot mess. I'm sure there are other terms and stuff like that. I'm a whatever. It's like, I'm biting my tongue here, right? You're something. Yeah, you are something, right? Not anything attractive. That is revolting, okay? And it's high time that we reestablish what a godly, wonderful woman looks like. So let's look first at her character. Number one, her character. Verse 11, the heart of her husband trusts her, and he has no lack of gain. She's trustworthy. She's trustworthy. He's not worried about what she's doing, how she's doing. He doesn't worry about what she's spending money on. Okay, she's trustworthy, and her husband is better because of her. He's better. Do you see that? He will have no lack of gain. The implication is because she's in his life. He is a better man because she is there. There's a great quote from As Good as It Gets where Jack Nicholson looks at the female character and he says, "You make me want to be a better man." It's a great line. You make me want to be a better man. There haven't been better, many words better spoken than that, right? What's one of the best things that I love about my wife? She makes me want to be better. I am better because of her. She's trustworthy. I don't worry about what was the black preacher said one time? If you share a bed, you can share a bank account. This having to segregate funds because she can't be trusted. Yeah, that's not okay. She needs to be able to be trusted with the money. She needs to be able to be trusted with everything that's going on. She should have the passcode to your phone and you hers. Right? All of that kind of stuff. She's trustworthy. Her husband's better because of her. She makes him better. Verse 12, talking about her character again. She deals bountifully with him for good, not evil, all the days of her life. She's not measured in her regard for him. She's generous in her affection, faithfully executing her duty continually over the decades, all the days of her life. Right? So this is not a Johnny come lately kind of thing. This is not a spurt. This is not a new fad. This is part of her character, consistent over time. This is who she is. She deals bountifully with him. What does your translation say on that one, verse 12?
She rewards him with good, not evil, all the days of her life.
Okay. What do you have?
She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life.
Okay. Yeah. So she gives to him good, not evil. Again, this goes to the aspect of when you're looking for an excellent woman, what are you looking for? Well, you're looking for one who is genuinely good. I cannot overstate this. She actually has to love God and love God more than she loves you. If she doesn't love God, she will not be able to love you because you will be unlovable sometimes. And there will be times where it would be to her selfishness for her to try to manipulate you to get you to do things or not do things. But because she loves the Lord, she will encourage you to do the right thing. The greatest compliment that I could ever give my wife is that she does exactly that at sometimes great cost to herself. There have been life decisions that we've made along the way, regarding her occupation and a number of other things, where even when there have been times where I've had personal interactions with people where, because she loves me and has affection for me, has been offended on my account. You know what I'm talking about, right? She's mad because somebody said something bad about me, and I'm her husband, you know, and so, you know, the kind of the, you know, that ain't the mama bear, this is the wife bear, you know. She's like, you know, but she has stopped short and said, you need to objectively consider the criticism, and if there's any value in that, even if the source is not good. Golly, what a woman. What a woman who can see past the personal and try to be objective and help me be the kind of man that I need to be regardless of the circumstances. It's a powerful, powerful thing. Verse 13. She searches for wool and flax and works with her hands in delight. So we've kind of looked at her character. Now, you know, we're looking at her devotion as a homemaker. So she's looking for stuff to make. You know, these are ingredients for garments, essentially. She looks for opportunity to earn money, and works happily and hard. Works hard happily. That's how I meant to say that. You know, wool and flax. Those are the things. You know, wool for the winter, flax for the summer, and she works with her hands in delight. She's not doing it out of spite. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. No, she wants to do it. So she's happy about it. Verse 14, she's like merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. And some of you are like, I know what you're talking about. She goes to, you know, buys that stuff from Marketplace or whatever, right? She goes to the expensive place or the far place, or orders stuff online and has it shipped in.
God forbid Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, yeah, there you go, yeah. She's like merchant ships, brings her food in from afar. You know, the idea is that she's being creative. She finds creative ways and makes great effort to make her family's lives better. Right? What is a merchant ship from afar? Well, they're bringing stuff that you don't have access to. They're bringing it close by and making it accessible. She's doing this. She's being creative. She's thinking about ways to make life better for the family.
Sounds like she's going to Whole Foods, right?
Sounds like she's going to Whole Foods. Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Gonna have a thing that day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, truth be told, right? You know, the sidebar here on this. For years, I fought against some of this, you know, healthy food, and, you know, and I don't want to go down the whole, you know, organic thing and all that kind of stuff and granola and all that stuff. This is a Bible study. This is not about that. But she said something to me that hit me between the eyes about 10 years ago. She said, would you pay a little more for better food so that you're not having to pay for health care later? And you're also paying with your body to have to endure the health care that you could otherwise avoid. It seems like a small investment. That's what she said to me. And I went, crap. She's right. I got to buy that freaking organic blueberries now or whatever, you know. You buy what you want, okay? I'm not telling you to make, you know, grocery choices here. That's not what this is about. But she had a point. She really had a point, right? You know, I was fine eating, you know, sausage and steak every day or whatever, you know, and it's like, there's a ton of junk in that, you know. Okay, if we're going to eat sausage, then let's eat better, you know. I mean, she had to go different places that I wasn't used to. I thank God for HEB, by the way, you know. Other people in other states don't have HEB, man. They're missing out, I'll tell you what. Anyway, so like merchant ships. Verse 15, she rises while it's still night, gives food to her household and a portion to her young women. She's not lazy, right? She's not afraid of hard work. She's getting up early before the sun. Let me say something here, right? Don't go home and tell your wife that she's got to, you know, get up before the sun comes up and stay, you know, be up all night long. You know, come on, woman, look here. I got a verse for you, right? You know, because there's plenty of stuff that we as men have got to deal with as well. But there is this aspect of, you know, she's working hard. She's working hard. In this passage, she rises while it's still night, right? So before the sun comes up, and she gives food to her household, a portion to her young women. You know, this would have been in a king's household. She would have had servants, and what is she doing? She's giving out chores. She's given out provision to those who are under her care, to her handmaidens, if you will, if you want to call them that. So everybody's kind of taken care of. She's not lazy. She makes sure everybody in the household's taken care of, especially of the young women. And you see that, and we'll kind of circle back to that on Titus 2 here in a minute. Verse 16, she makes a plan for a field. So not only is she working at home, taking care of business, right? She's also working entrepreneurially. She makes plans for a field and buys it. And where does she get the money to buy this field? She went and asked her husband for the money? Is that what it says? What's it say, verse 16?
Vineyard.
The fruit of her hands.
The fruit of her hands. Well, we know from verse 24, what is verse 24? She makes linen garments and sells them, right? She's entrepreneurial, right? She's making some money, and then she's making her money make money. By the way, which is what you ought to be doing as well. But she's investing, and she goes and buys the field. And then what does she do with the field? Verse 16.
She buys it.
She buys it, but what does she do with it once she gets it?
Plants a vineyard.
Why would you plant a vineyard in the field?
Increase the value.
You increase the value of it, right? You make it productive, right? So you make some money, you go and buy an asset, and then you contribute to the asset's value by making it even more productive. You see how this is like a level 3 kind of financial thinking? Let me just say something real quick. There are some women who, I've got a good friend of mine that, his wife doesn't want to be involved in finances or whatever, However, let me say this, and I'm all about division of labor and all that stuff. That's fine. But your wife needs to know what's going on at the house with your dollars and where stuff is. Like I know of guys that died. I had a friend of mine, an older guy that died several years ago, and it was just a mess, and obviously he didn't do this on purpose. He just never really thought about it. He wasn't a bad guy or anything, but when he passed away, it was a real mess trying to get everything transferred over to her, and because she wasn't on anything, right? They didn't have joint accounts. They didn't, the property was not in her name, and he didn't have a will to be able to bypass probate. It just turned into a mess. Here, she not only just knows what's going on, but she has enough money that she can go and make some financial decisions, right? And this flies in the face of those who claim that, we as Christians are just these, hard-nosed, patriarchal. We are hard-nosed and we are patriarchal, right? But that doesn't exclude her ability to go and make some decisions, right? And to go do some things. Here's a great example of this. She buys a field and she makes it more productive. That's the kind of woman she is. She's not lazy. She's out there getting after it, So that's it's great. So verse 17. Is she weak? No, she's strong. She girds herself with strength. She makes her arms strong. She's physically strong, not because she's hitting the gym, right? We don't need more gym girls, right?
Amen.
Yeah. What we need, right? She's taking care of business. She's physically active in what's going on, right? And so, she's not sitting around, all the time or something like that. She's doubly strong, doubly strong. We can see this in verse 19, verses 23 also. She stretches out her hands to the distaff and she holds fast to the spindle. Verse 19, what does your translation say on verse 19? You guys have got CSB or NIV.
She extends her hands to the spinning staff, and her hands hold the spindle.
Okay, spinning staff and spindle.
It says, in her hand she holds the staff and grasps the spindle with her fingers.
Okay, so these would have been instruments that make thread, basically. Okay, so she's making thread that, what do you do with thread?
Weave it into fabric.
Yeah, you weave it in fabric, you sew things, you put things together, right? So she's busy. She's taking care of business. She's not idle. Okay, so
she's taking a raw product and making it into something usable.
yeah. So she's selling stuff. She's making stuff. She's making the stuff that makes the stuff. She's buying fields. She's planting a vineyard. She's making sure that her girls have what they need and are on task, right? She's a boss. Notice that she's not a boss out in the world, though, in the sense that we normally think of, right? She's taking care of the estate and what what's going on with the family. Let's keep going here. Verse 18. Verse 18. She senses that her grain is good and her lamp does not go out at night. What do you have for her for the first part of verse 18?
She sees that her profits are good.
Her profits are good. Okay.
Merchandise is profitable.
Merchandise is profitable.
Mine says her trading is profitable.
Okay, yeah. So again, you see this idea that she's engaged in commerce and business on some level, and then the second half, her lamp does not go out at night. At nighttime, they didn't have electricity like we do. So what'd you have? You had oil lamps. At midnight, wick's got to be trimmed. It's got to be filled up, and early in the morning, guess what? You got to do it again, right? Again, this is just a repeat of the idea that she's very diligent. She's thoughtful. She's diligent. She has good intuition, and she makes appropriate preparations.
And she's not doing it just to go through the motions.
Yeah.
She's doing it because she's being selfless.
Yeah, she cares. Her identity is tied up in the household identity, which, by the way, is what all of our identities should be. Not just I'm my own man, she's her own woman, our kids are doing their. One of the things that just disgusts me, and it's this nonsense of individualism taken too far. We just want our kids to make their own decisions. Oh, so do I. But I'm going to help them make those decisions when they're early, and then help them identify our values as a family and what's important. Right? 2-year-olds don't get to make decisions. Okay, they don't. They get told what to do. This is the way it's going to be. Now, as soon as you can help them, put them in a spot where they can choose the right thing and the good thing. That's good and right. But people today, we have this child-centered parenting that's completely backwards. It drives me berserk. This is not about that today, so I'm going to get off that hobby horse. But here in this sense, what's going on? So she knows what's good. She's diligent. Her identity is tied to the household, as all of ours should be. That was the point that I was trying to make. Verse 19. We already read that one. She extends her hands to the poor. Verse 20. So she's generous also. So verse 20. She extends her hands to the poor. She stretches out her hands to the needy. Those who can't, those who have less, she's compassionate towards them. She's productive so much that she has more than she needs so that she can help those who can't help themselves. That's a great thing, and we all want to be like that, right? Be generous. And to be generous, you got to have more than what you need. Just a simple math problem, right? If I can't feed my own face and I can't feed those who are under my household, how could I possibly expect to help anybody else? Which assumes that you need to be productive and be able to make money, right? There is sometimes this idea, this overly pietistic idea that Christians shouldn't be engaged in commerce and should be, they shouldn't be sly as serpents and be out in the workplace taking care of business and making money. You absolutely should do that. You absolutely should make some money, not for selfish reasons though. Yes, you want to do well for you and yours, but also so that you can be generous. You can't be generous if you got nothing to give, right? It's a simple thing. We all understand that. She's generous. She's not just trying to go buy the new bag or the new pair of shoes, whether it's Louis Vuitton or Jimmy Choo or I don't even know. I'm completely out of style these days, right? But she's saving, she's investing, she's doing all these things. Verse 21. She's not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She's not afraid of the snow. What does that mean? She's got some kind of weird thing with weather? No.
Planned in advance.
Yeah. She anticipates that difficulty is coming. In Jerusalem, in this time, even today, snows about every other year. Okay? Kind of like out here, right? I don't have a coat. I got a hoodie. No, she's making sure that everybody, she prepares for difficult situations and they don't frighten her. what are we going to do? I've got a friend that, I know his wife says it all the time. What are we going to do? It's like, no, sweetie, let's work through this. Let's figure this out, right? Difficulties are going to come, whether that be the next financial downturn or the next bust in the oil field or literal cold weather. And some of us live in a situation, I know Ryan and I have to deal with well water and stuff like that. You actually have to go out and take care of, make sure that things don't freeze up. And if you got critters and animals, you got to take care of that and bust ice and all that kind of stuff. Snow does not frighten her because she's prepared for them. She gets warm clothing ready for her kids, for her family. And not just warm clothing. What does it say about it in verse 21? What are they clothed with? Scarlet. Bougie. She's fancy. Right? They looking good. Right? This is not just your, work gear, but, when other people are hurting, man, her people look good. Why? Because she's diligent. Because she's taking care of business.
Well, it catches the eye too, because scarlet's one of those shades of red that just kind of, it stands out.
Pops, baby. Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't
right.
even say that, but
Yeah. Verse 22, she makes coverings for herself. Her clothing is a fine linen and purple. So not only does she do this for her family, she takes care of herself as well. This is not a woman who's overly concerned about her image, but it also means that she's not homely, right? Does she need to take care of things? Yeah, right. Is there a balance between putting so much paint on the barn that you can't see the wood? Yes, right. She doesn't need to have makeup caked on that you have to have a jackhammer to get off, right? That's one side of it. The other side is good grief, girl. Wash that nappy hair. Do something. Fix up. You don't just let yourself go, right? She is clothed with fine linen and purple, right? She attends to that as well. So she herself is well dressed because of her diligence. It could also mean making decorations for the house and or for herself. It's debatable. What do you guys have for, what verse is that? 22.
She makes her own bed coverings. Her clothing is fine linen and purple.
Okay, bed coverings. Yeah. What do you have, Brad?
Coverings for her bed.
Okay, yeah. So I know you hate the pillows on the bed, right? You hate the duvet cover and all that nonsense. I do too, right? I'm like, how many pillows we got to have? But it's this idea that she's decorating her house, and her house looks like a home. I had a family member of mine at one point. When you walked in their house, it was just cold, man. And it was emblematic of how their life was. I mean, it really was. It was just, she was checked out, self-medicating. It was obvious that she wasn't, concerned any at all about what the house looked like, other than, he was kind of a little bit of a neat freak, but no decoration, just plain Jane, no color. It was like, good grief, where is she? Like, what is she doing? And your house ought to look like a home. It ought to look like a home. She ought to care about that. And you ought to also make sure that she's got a budget and the ability to handle some of that stuff, right? And can they go overboard with that? Absolutely, right? But
no hot pink walls.
yeah, they can go overboard with the decor thing, and it turn into even an idol. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be done, right? Your house doesn't need to look like a bachelor pad, right? If you're married, right? It should. You want that, and you need to encourage that with her, and help her have a good sense of style. And if you need some help, I know a lady. Anyway, she's well dressed. Her family, her house looks nice. She's attending to these things. We've already talked about. Actually, no, we didn't talk about verse 23. Her husband is known at the gates when he sits with the elders of the land. So, who's at the gates? Well, it tells you there. The elders of the land. We've talked about this before. At the city gates, there would have been kind of an open court where the elders adjudicated matters and things like that. And what does it say about this woman here in verse 23? her husband, he's known at the gates. He's known, he sits with the elders of the land. A man who is constantly having to attend to the inadequacies of his wife will never have the ability to rule over other people. He's no bandwidth because he's constantly having to deal with her and her problems because she can't handle anything because she's a hot mess, or she's always mopey, or always sick, or always depressed, or always sad, or always some debilitating thing. And I'm going to be careful what I say about health stuff here, but I really, really, really believe that a lot of this health autoimmune stuff can be fixed by, woman, you need to take your pajamas off, put on some jogging pants, and go outside where there is clean air and sunshine, even if it got dust in it. We're in West Texas, and walk, do something, right? This sitting around the house, navel gazing, feeling sorry for yourself, like there really is, it's not good. It's not okay. He cannot be who he needs to be if she is not who she needs to be. And that's one of her big roles, is to help him be somebody. Her husband is known at the city gates. Well, how is that possible? He's not having to attend to her. She's taking care of business, right? She has helped her husband to be one of the nobles of the area. It's a powerful, powerful thing. She pushes him to be better. Verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them, gives belts to tradesmen. We've already talked about that one. She runs a productive business. She's taking care of that business. So she's generous. She's helpful. And then verse 25, strength and majesty are her clothing. She smiles at the future. So if you haven't caught it yet, you see that while she may have a gentle and quiet spirit, is she weak and mousy? No, she's strong. She's strong. And that's one of the false dichotomies that are one of the lies of our culture, is that women who have a gentle and quiet spirit, as Peter tells them to have, that they have to be weak. This is not about weakness. She has a different kind of strength here. Verse 25, strength and majesty. What do you have a different translation there? Honor.
Strength and dignity.
Dignity. I think about valor, right? She is a woman that commands respect by who she is and what she does. She is strong. She's not weak. She's adorned. Notice the language that it uses there. Her clothing, I know there are lots of women that do want clothing lines, but she doesn't have a clothing line named Strength and Valor, right? Her that's just what she looks like, right? When you see her, you know the kind of woman that she is. She doesn't dread the future, but looks forward to it regardless of what it will bring. Notice that part the second part of verse 25. What does your translation say?
She laughs at the time to come.
She laughs at the time to come.
Same.
Okay.
She can laugh at the days to come.
Mine says she smiles at the future. The laughter piece is, when you're not overwhelmed, that's when you can laugh. One of the first things to go with mental health is laughter. When people lose their sense of humor, when life's no longer fun, one of the only strong, confident people can have an actual sense of humor and laugh about things and have a good time. What does Proverbs say about laughter? Laughter is good medicine, man. Good medicine. Hard times, good grief. If this got any harder, we'd be dead. When you can, and I'll just tell you, even in just basic marriage stuff. When things are getting heated and you're going back and forth, and I'll just tell you, Shayla and I, we're type A personalities, and there have been times where we have had our battles, man. Going at each other. She's not backing down, I'm not backing down. This is a World War I situation. We're both entrenched and ain't nobody moving, right? This is a stalemate, and we're going to fight to the death, right? She's getting mustard gas, and I'm trying to find a Zeppelin to bomb her with or something, we just go at it, man. And, if you can find some laughter in that, and it completely changes it. It's like, really? Come on now. You know, it changes the dynamics. Here it says that she laughs at the future, right? She smiles at the future. She's not afraid of the next COVID or the next whatever goofiness, pandemic thing comes out. I'm letting my conspiracy theory stuff come out a little bit. But like, whether it's financial stuff, personal stuff, right? Women are really prone to borrow trouble when it comes to future things, right? They worry about security. It's part of your job to lead in that and let them know. If you have young kids, one day those kids will leave the house. That is a good thing. And you need to help her prepare for that emotionally and embrace that next cycle or next phase of life. If you've got older kids and they're having kids, or maybe you're struggling with your older kids because of, for whatever reason, maybe you didn't do things right, or maybe it just didn't work out well, or whatever. But helping her process that, where she can look to the future and be optimistic about that. Not in a Pollyanna-esque, blue skies and butterflies, rose-colored glasses, naive kind of way, but from a sense of security and strength. So she laughs or smiles at the future. Verse 25. Verse 26, she opens her mouth in wisdom, and in instruction and loving kindness is on her tongue. So she's also one who gives instruction, or she's a teacher. Verse 26, she's a woman of wisdom and teaches with kind words towards others. So the word loving kindness there is hesed. It's the most repeated word in the Old Testament about like God's love. Sometimes it's translated his covenant love. Sometimes it's just translated kindness or something like that. What do you have, verse 26?
Loving instruction.
Loving instruction, yeah. It's on her tongue. She teaches not because she wants. Here's one for you. She's not trying to be an internet personality, and if she is doing some of that stuff, she's doing it out of love, not out of I have some sense of trying to be, an online rock star kind of thing. She genuinely loves and cares about other people. What is the definition of love? You don't have to answer that. I'll answer it because I've thought through it a little bit. Love is not primarily an emotion. It's not. It's a decision to regard someone else's well-being above my own. To do what's best for the other person. Love, by definition, is sacrificial. No greater love has a man than this, that he would give up his life for his friends. Paul says that about Jesus. And we know that the love of God has been poured out in our hearts. Like we see in the person and work of Christ ultimate love. It's sacrificial. And so here, when she speaks at great cost. She speaks at maybe personal cost. If she is teaching your kids, and maybe she even says things to you that because she loves you, not because she is trying to be mean or evil or spiteful or something, or just some wicked woman or something like that. And we know from the book of Proverbs, sometimes those wounds that are inflicted by somebody that loves you, it's painful, right? But it's for your healing and for your good. This may be encouragement. It may be any number of things. I'll tell you, just as a quick aside here. I'll get to this one in a minute because we're almost there. So verse 26, she's a woman of wisdom and teaches with kind, loving words to others. She's an effective mother. Verse 27, she watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. So if you haven't missed it, she's not lazy. Right? She's diligent to take care of her family, and she works hard. It doesn't mean she doesn't get tired, by the way, guys. Right? That's just part of it. But she wants to be busy with that stuff. Verse 28, Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband also praises her, saying, many daughters have done excellently, but you have gone far above them all. Her children and her husband sing her praises. They're proud of their mama. They need to be. I would encourage you as a man to initiate ways to make sure that your children love and respect their mother. God help them if they disrespect her, right? We're talking about the fear of God and the fear of the Lord. You need to put that in your kids, and that needs to apply to their mother, right? They need to know that you guys are on the same page. And newsflash, even if she's wrong, she's right when it comes to those kids, right? Especially if she's the one they're dealing with them, okay? Now, you can, debrief later if the action wasn't right or whatever, y'all can, and you may at times have significant disagreements over that. But the idea here, her children rise up and call her blessed. I've had the pleasure of being able to witness this with my kids. And Shayla had a birthday not too long ago. And the older two came home on a surprise visit. And, one of our traditions around our house is, you guys know how I feel about male birthdays, okay? Grown men don't celebrate each other's birthdays, all right? We're not gay, that's why. We're not adolescents, that's why, right? Because we're not 7, that's why, okay? Your great-grandfathers didn't know each other's birthdays. They didn't care. I guarantee it. I absolutely know this for a fact. Anyway, but it is right and good and acceptable for you to do that with your family, for you to celebrate each other's birthdays. And we use that as a time to... We have a meal together. Whoever's birthday it is gets to choose what we make. All right, Shayla and I, we'll whatever. Desserts, food. We spend some money, and we use this as a time to say good things and appreciate the person. And we everybody has to share at the mealtime. This is just the way we've done it. You may have a better way. If you do, I'm very anxious to hear about it. But we go around and everybody has to prepare something. You have to actually, and it's not, I love mom or, Jess is cute. No, like you have to actually say, so we do that. So Shayla's birthday, the kids come home and I tell you, man, it was a tearjerker, brother. Oh man, it was a tearjerker with everybody. Talking about my kids are able to see in hindsight the sacrifices that she made. They didn't appreciate it in the moment at all, right? Not even a little bit. Well, every now and then, maybe some, right? Because I would beat them if they didn't, right? But especially like Jet looking for a wife, JC thinking about getting married and having kids, and even Jess actually wrote something out, because that little fireball, as much as we like to give her a hard time about being mean, is really sensitive and could not verbalize it without getting choked up, and so she wrote it all out and handed it to Shayla, and then of course nobody could read anything at that point because nobody could see. So the tears in our eyes. I mean, there were allergens and stuff, so but
that skunk outside, it's really
it's just get you, right? Her children rise up and call her blessed. They appreciate her. And look, that doesn't mean that if things, if you're older and things didn't go right or whatever, don't get hung up on that, okay? But if you've got young kids and you know what to do, do it. Do it well. Her husband also, what does it say? Verse 28.
Also praises her.
Yeah. He's not, don't be this curmudgeonly butthead that never has anything good to say. Well, you're just doing your job. No one says anything good. No one says good job to me for doing my job. Quit being an ass. Okay. Appreciate, recognize what she does, and make effort. And look, it's up to you to figure out when and how to do that. As much as I hate greeting card holidays, and I absolutely do hate them, okay, I do. We just had one this last month. There are opportunities, and you need to figure out times to be sure that she feels appreciated and loved. And you need to be sure that your children respect and love her, and that they say and actually believe she is the best, right? Every guy should believe that, and every guy thinks it, but it needs to be true with you. That's verse 29. Many daughters have done excellently, but you've gone far above them all. My wife's the best, and I don't care what you say, and you can't convince me otherwise, right? And we can have a fight about it. So that's verse 29. Her excellence as a saint or as a believer. Verse 30. Charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, who fears Yahweh, she shall be praised. Beauty and sophistication fade, but a woman that fears the Lord is worthy of praise. One of the things, and I would commend this to you if you have daughters. We've been very sparingly. We may have overcorrected for this. We've debriefed on it with my girls a little bit. My girls could probably count on one hand the number of times I've told them they're beautiful. And it's not because they're not. But I'm not celebrating physical things that they have no control over. What do we celebrate? Character, integrity, qualities. When Jess stood up to the mean girls at COM and refused to be a punk and steal some stuff, and she didn't care what they thought, I swole with pride, right? When JC takes care of people because that's how she is, she just has a heart to anticipate what's coming next around the house. She helps Shayla in ways that nobody else does. She just shows up and does that. I mean, man, it's awesome. Those are the kinds of things that you want to celebrate in your daughters if you've got daughters. And if you're looking for a wife, get past the looks, right? That stuff fades. It comes and it goes. It's, whatever. The most attractive thing should not be her appearance. It should be her character, right? And if you got sons, you need to teach them that lesson. God help them if they choose some beautiful, ugly woman. You know what I mean by that? Physically beautiful, but ugly in every other way. If I have to make a choice, if you have to make a choice, go the other direction, and some would say, well, Cody, you're overcorrecting or whatever. I may be overcorrecting a little bit because our culture is stupid. Our culture looks only at the appearance, only at what she can do for me. Oh, she looks pretty, she curvy, she got this, she got that, she got these assets or whatever. No, man. Beauty, true beauty, is her character. Charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give to her. This is a command, verse 31. This is the last verse. It's a command. It's the only command in this section that we've gone over today. Give to her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. What does that mean?
Give her her due.
Give her her due. If it hasn't been explicit enough, one of your jobs as the husband and as the father is to make sure that she gets positive attention because of the good things that she's done and the kind of woman that she is. Her works praise her at the gates. So he's known at the gates, and what's he talking about? That woman, right? She's that good, right? He is in admiration of her. He gives her credit. She should spend her money and let everyone know how great she is. So it's the fruit of her hands that she bought the field with, right? That's money that she's earned, that he is okay with letting her take that and make good decisions with, right? Now, if she's doing dumb stuff, then you need to deal with that, right? But give her credit. Don't be sparingly about this, okay? It's okay to gush a little bit. It's okay to gush a little bit. Some additional verses with this. Proverbs 14:1, the wise woman builds her house with her own hands, but the foolish one tears it down. A wise woman builds her house. That's what she does. Proverbs 14:1. 1 Peter 3:4, rather it should be that of your inner self, unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Talking about, a godly woman. What does she look like? A gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. The unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. You see that picture in contrast to what we just got through talking about. Titus 2, 3-5. Older women likewise to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers, slaves to much wine. Teach what is good. Train younger women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. One of the things that as a husband, as a man, you need to do for your wife is that you need to help her, as she gets older, transition to a sagely woman who is interested in and spends effort in. When she's younger, she's raising her kids. When she's older, what is she doing? Teaching the younger women how to raise those kids and how to be a good wife, right? She needs to have that ministry. It's something that has almost entirely been lost in our culture. I'm going to bite my tongue on this one. There's some stuff we could say about the post-war consensus and things like that. I'll just tell you, like I know women who are still alive whose mothers were the last ones who knew how to cook, who knew how to take care of a house, who knew how to raise children, who knew how to do any of these things. And all that was abandoned, and feminism is a big part of that. The church, Titus 2 still applies. What should they be doing as they get older, right? They should continue to help their daughters raise their kids and other young women. They have to have something to be able to give, right? It's this intergenerational piece. How beneficial would it be, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but the same thing could be said of men on some level. How beneficial would it be if you had an older guy come alongside and say, this is how we do things? Mentorship, right? Sometimes you get that, you might get it a little bit at work, but you want it at work, you want it in the church. That's the way it should be. And that's what should be there. Those women, they do need to talk to each other. They're social. They're much more social than we are, right? They got a lot more words, right? They got a lot more words, and they need to not just get the words out, but those words need to be productive words. And so, what's the conclusion here? Lead and love well. Help your wife. Help you, right? A man who helps his wife helps himself. Be in tune with your wife and fight against feminism. Help her to be excellent. And the truth is, she'll be happier and healthier this way. I promise you. She'll be happier and healthier. Again, commend to you the Bright Hearth podcast. I'll send that out. And also Dr. MacArthur's message on this. He did a better job in some ways, in a lot of ways than what I've been able to go through here. But hopefully that'll be good for you. Questions, comments? Way past time, sorry. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word and your wisdom that it provides. Help us to understand it and obey it. Make us men full of wisdom and grace. Make us wise and faithful for your glory. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.